Hey all, so you've probably been wondering where we've been for the past few months given our constant absence throughout most of 2023. And I guarantee you that we will be explaining this in due time as we enter the new year. But before we get into today's video, I wanted to note that part of the reason for our hiatus has been because I've been working on a video for a YouTuber by the name of Shunks. It is an hour-long retrospective on the Hub Network, which was the former TV channel that hosted My Little Pony, Transformers Prime, Dan Versus, etc, etc. I'm extremely happy with how it turned out, so if it sounds like a topic that would interest you, the link will be down in the description below to go check it out. Without any further ado though, let's get on with the show.
From the rolling hills of England, to the sand-swept pyramids of Egypt, to the rivers of Italy, to a muck of a Florida prison, the Joestar bloodline has spanned time and space in manga and anime for over 30 years. Now it is up to Rosen Thorne. How many podcasts have I done? How many breads have you eaten in your life? To take his compatriots, Smarty, Hot Cocoa Rock.
Guys, I've got some great new breathing exercises. You won't believe the results.
Nellie Belle,
Is this what acid is like? Because I feel like this is what acid is like.
and LAF.
I personally prefer Hamon Iberico to Hamon Enrique.
Through this series of bizarre adventures on the RoTho JoJo ShowShow.
Welcome to episode 2. How we doing?
I'm doing swell.
So I figured we'd take the time before we get into the episodes to just kind of talk about our what's happened to us since the previous episode, and just what's happened, like any big news stuff. For example, living in LA, it's kind of inevitable that Lee and I have this affect us. Today, as we're recording this, the Screen Actors Guild joined the striking force.
Yeah, so now the Writers Guild and Actors Guild are on strike.
Yep, first time in 60 years.
And 2 fun facts about that. One, do you know who was heading the union side in 63 years ago?
Nope.
I do.
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
He was the president of the Screen Actors Guild at the time.
Wow. I'm genuinely
Labor champion. Ronald
I,
Reagan.
yeah, that's what's fucking with my brain.
Yeah, no, this is before he turned Guild.
Yeah, this is before he went crazy.
Like a little bit after that was when I think the Congress hearings started and the House Un-American Activities Committee
Gotcha.
So that's when he turned.
Gotcha.
That was the 50s, wasn't it?
Yeah, late 50s, early 60s.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah, McCarthy didn't get involved until the 60s, but you know, this is not a history podcast.
At least not American history at the moment.
Not American history.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what's happened in the past 2 weeks. We started the other podcast, Tracing the Grand Line. It's going well.
Hell yeah.
Things have been slow on my end, I will admit.
I just beat Final Fantasy 16 today. Not finished.
How is it?
Honestly, I think it's one of the best ones in the series.
I've heard that. I've heard
Yeah,
two things. It's one of the best. It's really bad with women.
Yeah. Yeah. No, those are both fair evaluations I was thinking of. Yeah, the gameplay is fantastic. The story's incredible. The graphics are obviously drop dead gorgeous.
I've also heard Clive's tits are humongous.
I'll have to go back and when I'm finishing the Platinum Trophy, pay attention to that. Yes, about the women though. It's very much the same problem as early JoJo, is that they're kind of just there.
Ah, I see. Speaking of massive tits on men.
Weird that you could say that, but we have to go through the whole, we have to go through all of these hoops and say smoking apparatus.
Right? Oh, speaking of apparatuses, happy 1-year anniversary to Shinzo Abe getting murked with the contraption.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh, it's been a year already?
Yeah, it has.
Wow.
The doohickey. Happy doohickey day.
And this is how we celebrate it. Jeez.
I remember, I think I've told this story before. I was streaming the first Klonoa because that collection had just come out, and we were talking about the impact of Yu-Gi-Oh! Mangaka Kazuki Takahashi, because he had just died a bit ago. And then we found out live on stream. And it was extremely fitting, considering Kazuki Takahashi famously fucking hated Shinzo Abe and drew a lot of political cartoons to get people to vote away from him, which, good. Shinzo Abe was a monster.
It's funny how it all comes full circle in the end.
Right? Yeah, one year later, Kazuki Takahashi is immortalized for dying a hero, and Shinzo Abe couldn't even get a fucking flower bed memorial.
Damn.
Ain't it great? Anything else you want to talk about before we jump in?
Not a whole lot going on my end. For pre-discussed reasons of the writer strike and actor strike and everything.
Yeah.
I graduated from college a couple months ago with a degree in screenwriting, and I graduated 4 days after the writer strike began.
That sucks. But to your credit, you hopped right into the striking.
I did. I was, because I had to move out of LA, but in one of my last days in town, I did go to I went to one of the strikes at Sony. That was a very very, very, very good experience.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I've been trying to deal with various work shit. I haven't had time to go to the striking, but I want to at some point. I know when people were coming here for the wedding, and we were driving from the airport to Cantor's, and we had we passed by, I think it was CBS, and we actually we passed by the WGA. And I was like, I wonder if we'll see a strike 2 blocks later.
yeah.
Ariel, anything on your end?
Well, funny you mention that, because literally today, I was coming home from work. I literally just finished doing a couple things and finished an appointment. I went to the store, got cheesecake. They were doing a Christmas in July special where it was Little Debbie Christmas cheesecake. Was so happy, cloud 9. I was skipping up the hill to my house, and I slipped and fell and tumbled all the way down the hill, and I am nursing a very sore leg and 2 very sore shoulders right now.
And
Yay!
the reason that I'm okay with making jokes about it is Ariel is obviously, okay enough to record.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, would you say it all keeps tumbling down, tumbling down, tumbling down?
Yeah.
Like that one show.
Yeah. Food Wars.
But I am going to go to the ER probably in the morning, depending on how I feel.
Okay,
just to be extra sure.
I hope it's nothing serious.
Honestly, I feel fine for the most part, so I should be fine. This is just a precautionary of if things do go a little too owie in the morning.
Fair. You know what you need? You need some hamon.
Apparently I do.
And
because I am too much of a freaking klutz to not have it.
And that's as good a segue as we're going to get into episode 4, Overdrive. We open on Speedwagon recapping the previous fight and telling JoJo to live. My god, this man is down so bad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Speedwagon has his arm shattered. I kind of forgot. And oh hey, Aaron is back. Frankly, shocked that the 3 didn't fuck all night. After JoJo healed, that is.
It's time to see if she actually is a character this time around.
I was really hoping.
I swear part 2 is better with this.
Yeah, because what? She barely had a little bit of presence to show, and then all of a sudden, bye-bye.
Yeah. She's at least doing shit now. Specifically, she's healing Jonathan.
Yeah, she put some cold rags on him. Admittedly, she did run her fingers raw, which is that's pretty good for her doing that.
Yeah, I think the implication was she was like healing him the entire time, the entire weeks he was in that coma.
Jesus.
Yeah, good on her.
Because they had that bit in this episode where it's like, oh, no one someone I didn't even get to give her a proper farewell. I wouldn't want to put her in danger. And then the stagecoach starts shaking, and I was thinking, oh, is she gonna she came along with? I was really hoping he was gonna be that. It's nope, Jack.
Yeah, we'll get there, but yeah, I will say, Erina and JoJo reuniting is actually just really sweet. Like their relationship, for all the problems with Erina, her relationship with Jonathan is just really adorable.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I like
nice.
that she has a sick ass mullet too.
Oh yeah.
Like, I love how we're getting to the serious stuff now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how everyone in this show has a mullet. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, as a Southerner, I'm surprised I did not notice all the mullets. I guess it's just kind of erases on me.
It's blending into your everyday.
Pretty much.
Your mullet blind is alright.
And Speedwagon with the Homer Simpson, and that's my cue to exit. Or in the dub, she makes a better Florence Nightingale than I do anyhow. And in the sub, he's like, some people are just fated to meet each other.
I honestly felt so bad for him because I could see that he wanted to help, but he knew he couldn't compete against her for some reason, even though he was literally helping out in the middle of everything.
Again, they just weren't ready for the greatest throuple of the 1800s.
Yeah.
I like how more ominous Speedwagon's statement is in the sub, where people are just fated to meet each other, because then it immediately snap cuts to the ominous music and Dio's back.
Yeah. I know before that is Jesus, this is turning into a Fabio novel.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in Ripper Country, yes, really, here's Jack the fucking Ripper. Like, I know he was mentioned, but I don't think you expect it going in that there's going to be actual Jack the Ripper here.
No, I thought it was going to be that Dio was Jack the Ripper.
No, it's even cooler. But first, it's voice time. He's played by Paul St. Peter, who was Zor Prime in Robotech, Kenji Murasame in Giant Robo, Matsui in Patlabor, Leomon and Wormmon in Digimon, Punch in Cowboy Bebop, Loose Ruth in Trigun, Haruhiko Yagi in Hajime no Ippo, Ishimatsu in Samurai Champloo, the Nine-Tailed Fox in Naruto, Captain Blue in Beautiful Joe, Xemnas in Kingdom Hearts, Captain
Oh,
Battleship...
that's where I know that name from.
Yep.
Okay.
Captain Battleship in Bobo, Jorgen and Timilf in Gurren Lagann, Dr. Julius Reichwein in Monster, Higa in Durarara, Razor and Pike in Hunter x Hunter, Gregor in Fire Emblem, and Heavy Tank Loincloth in One Punch Man. In Japanese, Jack the Ripper is Naomi Kusumi, who was Scooby-fucking-Doo, like, since the original show.
Lol.
He's also
Reggie, I'm a vampire now.
Rose like rocking red. Toru from Jackie Chan Adventures,
Of pluck.
Clockwork in Sly Cooper, Gleeman Vox in Ratchet Deadlocked, Dudley in Street Fighter, Boog in the Open Susan sequels. Yes, that movie had fucking sequels. Roadhog in Overwatch, So Sajima in AI The Somnium Files, Futoshi Shimano in Yakuza, and X-Death in Dissidia.
I do love X-Death. There's a lot of characters that I really like. It makes a lot of sense that X-Death and Clockwork have the same voice.
Yeah.
That makes a
like-
lot of sense.
It doesn't make sense.
But at
though,
the
that
same time-
we do have the same voice, though. That doesn't make sense at all.
Oh, no, not at all. It's hilarious. And here's Dio recruiting him to his vampire army, and that's why they never caught him. Again, vampire powers are super nebulous and expansive, so this shit makes sense to me.
And it was just that sound again. It made it sound like Cell, right? Whenever he was sucking out the people in the first part of the arc
Yep.
in Dragon Ball.
Probably the same sound.
It probably was because it sounded exactly like whenever he was sucking out that rich man.
Which one?
Sorry? I haven't seen Dragon Ball, so like, what the hell are you talking about?
Cell eats people through his tail.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like a
What?
hypodermic needle.
Yeah, he human Capri Suns them, much like Dio. And yeah, Jonathan goes back to the ruins of the mansion and is just like, well, at the very least, Dio and the mask are destroyed. Oh, Jonathan, you're not that lucky.
Lol, no.
Erna and Jonathan go for a walk while being followed by a strange man in a funky top hat. This is Will A. Zappelli. I'm assuming you get the reference.
100%.
I feel bad. I don't.
Led
What was
Zeppelin.
it?
Yeah.
Oh well, now it's so obvious. Okay.
The Zappelli family is very important in JoJo. He's played by Joe Ackman, who was Soften in Bobo, Hypnomaniac in Big Bad Beetleborgs, LaGrace in Ravemaster, Shinetsu Kisaragi in Bleach, Gabal in Gurren Lagann, yes, both Speedwagon and Zappelli played Gabal, Professor Harry McDougal in Red Dead Redemption, Jiminy Cricket in Kingdom Hearts, Cyborg 006, Xeno Zoldyck in Hunter x Hunter, Solon in Fire Emblem, and the narrator in Great Pretender. In Japanese,
I need to watch Great Pretender. You recommended that.
it's very good. It's a great heist show, especially if you like movies like Catch Me If You Can. Great Pretender's a must. In Japanese, he's Yoko Shioya, who is Jinpei in Gatchaman, Cosmo Yuki in Space Runaway Ideon, a bunch of Transformers including Bumblebee in the G1 cartoon, Raphael in the original Ninja Turtles, Donatello in the Ninja Turtles movie, weirdly enough, Ryota Miyagi in Slam Dunk, Takao Shibuya in Perfect Blue, Miles in Cowboy Bebop, Pauly Shore's character in an extremely goofy movie, Dookie in Johnny Test, and Siren Sorrento in Saint Seiya.
Oh my god. An extremely goofy movie. That is a deep cut.
And
An extremely deep cut, even.
yeah, not as deep a cut as Dookie from Johnny Test, though.
Fair enough.
And I usually, and you know what? Fuck it. If I can do this bit for Randomay, I can do this for the Randomay spin-off. So y'all, what bar is Will A. Zappelli? For those who don't know this bit, this is a bit I basically borrowed from OSW Review, where the character here, what color scheme matches like a food or just another character or like a recognizable thing. Basically pattern recognition. Ariel, you want to go first?
Yeah, I actually had put a couple things on, but the big one I want to say is Torone, which is, and the one that I go for is the Bellino brand.
Bellino traditional Torone, which is soft nougat with almonds. It's like a tea biscuit.
Exactly.
I can kind of see it.
I mean, if you look at the packaging, it has the diamond pattern on it.
Yeah, the only thing it's missing is the black and white.
I mean, it's close.
It is close, yeah. And the other one is Golia, which I have no idea what these are. They appear to be...
It is licorice gummies.
Ugh. I hate licorice. Yeah. Speaking of Lee...
Yeah, the first thing I thought of was he looks like a black licorice candy cane.
Fair enough. Kokyo, you got any for this?
I just thought he looked funny.
Fair enough. As usual, I outsourced this question. Let's see. El Desperado says he looks like the poster for the movie Living in Oblivion, starring Steve Buscemi.
Oh my god, yes!
I knew you would get that instantly.
The moment you said that, I was like, oh, fuck.
Image for it now.
Mr. Emmett says, Cypher's Milk, a Big Hunk bar, Hershey's Cookies and Cream, and Wilkinson's Peanut Butter Bars. And I'm gonna go local.
You said Wilkins Coffee.
I was close. And I'm gonna go local. I say he is a classic black and white cookie from Cantor's.
Oh, black and white cookies are so good.
Right. But yes, this mysterious man knows about the mask, and he healed Jonathan's arm via a kidney punch. The image of Jonathan holding that rock is always funny to me. I don't know why.
Rock.
He looks like he's trying to do a barbarian version of Hamlet's To Be or Not To Be.
It's like that soliloquy, but done by your Hunter from the future.
To crush or not to crush?
There you go. But yeah, this dude really likes pepper. Zappelli is the first instance of a really fucking quirky JoJo character. There's a lot of these.
He's the first quirky one?
The first really quirky one.
Oh,
where like everything he does is fucking weird.
Yeah, he's the reason why I thought everything was an acid trip as soon as we met him, because it's like, what the hell?
He acts like he's from Alice in Wonderland, you know?
I was about to say,
Yeah.
Mad Hatter.
Which fits.
He's flat out the Mad Hatter. Honestly, no. The way that I've thought about him is that he is the treasure cat with an astral cryptic teleportation power.
Okay. Yeah, my next note is the way Zappelli moves is so weird. So this is our introduction to Hamon, the new fighting system. What do y'all think of Hamon?
It's fun.
Why not it breathe?
I don't know.
I know, it's just like, why that method?
It reminds me a lot of the Force from Star Wars. Like
Yeah.
Life energy that has power to do stuff.
Yeah, it's a very good way of putting it. It's fittingly, it's like poetry, it rhymes. It's meant to like serve as a counteract to Dio's vampire powers, which are all about death. Hamon is all about life.
I really like I felt like I could track the train of thought of the person who like thought of this.
Araki.
Like I feel like the conversation of whoever invented the Hamon system was like, oh, and then like a bunch of that where it's like, oh, breathing equals oxygen equals blood equals vampire, but vampire is night, which means this equals day.
You've just unlocked how Araki writes JoJo. There's a lot of this.
Oh, damn, I'm a genius, and like types like 50 pages in 2 hours.
There's a lot of fights are resolved by people figuring out a random fact Araki knows. It's great.
Funnily enough, Sendo is an actual martial art.
Oh yeah. That
Yes,
makes sense to me.
Sendo Ryu. It's a combination of Shotokan, Gyoji Ryu, Wado Ryu, and Shito Ryu, like the four.
Boy, does that first one need to be renamed. I'm assuming you meant Shotokan?
Shotokan.
Okay, that's better than what I thought you said.
No, I didn't say Shotokan.
Okay.
Yowza.
Whew! Anyway! It's basically magic breathing that be used for a variety of purposes. Anyone else thought he was gonna kill the frog?
Yes.
I did.
I fully thought I was gonna kill that frog.
It's a great bait and switch.
Yeah, it's so good. Like, breaking the rock under the frog and the frog just swims away. So good. It's like the ultimate board breaking.
I was honestly thinking that he was going to do like the electricity through the frog trick.
That too. So the way Hamon works is it's basically channeling life energy through one's breathing to create a burst of it to be used in various ways. A lot of it just boils down to it's just cool.
I mean, the light connection makes sense because if anyone here has played Persona, the Hama abilities are all light abilities.
Yeah.
Huh.
So. I'm guessing Hama is something to do with light in Japanese.
Possibly. I know Hikari is light in Japanese. Oh, Hamon is ripple.
That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense, especially with all the water things.
Yeah,
and everything.
And in swordsmithing, Hamon is an edge pattern. The edge pattern is a visible effect created on the blade by the hardening process.
Oh yeah, because that's like a big thing for chef knives.
Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
what creates like the additional sharpness on the end.
Yep. So Zappelli
Jamon con queso.
What was that?
Jamon con queso.
So Zappelli tells JoJo that both Dio and the mask are still intact, and it turns out he was trying to break the mask for decades. So that's fun. I love how JoJo is so pure and noble that the residual Hamon from his arm flows into the tree, creating new life.
That felt like I don't watch a lot of anime. Like I've said this
Yeah.
before, this is like one of the first anime I've seen in a while. That felt like a very like, my God, he's the chosen one.
Yeah.
Like that kind of moment.
Yeah, that was true main protagonist energy right there.
But unlike with a lot of Chosen One metaphors, it's just the fact that his character is that such. He's just a noble guy. And I feel like that's what really makes Jonathan work as opposed to other like protagonists like this. He's just a good dude.
Yeah, there's not necessarily anything particularly special about him. Is that he works hard and he has a strong moral ethic.
Yeah, and that's what I really like in a protagonist sometimes. Meanwhile, at Dio's Castlevania mansion, Dio and Jack are feasting. Unfortunately, blondes are on the menu. It's amazing what a castle will do, because he's only been a vampire for a couple weeks, and he's already dreaming of world conquest. Just once can you get us a redhead, Jack? Well, I'm sorry, but our options are limited in England. It's like
Ireland is right next door.
it's like that Game Changer bit, two zombies debating on what to do for dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it could also be sort of like Sweeney Todd, the Priest.
True. I can see Sweeney Todd being a big influence on this.
Talk rocks. I want to rewatch it soon.
There you go. Time for a training montage. That was fast. We learned that Zappelli is hunting the mask because when his dad's crew found it in an Aztec ruin, his dad put the mask on and slaughtered everyone on the ship, leaving him the only survivor. That's right. This mask is from an ancient Aztec ruin.
I mean, it explains the ending credits cards.
Yep. This will be important later.
And I thought of something interesting when it came to the ship, especially since it was all abandoned and everything. Like,
Yes.
it was in the middle of the night. I thought could the boat actually be Mary Celeste? Because that was like a big myth. It was around the area, and it looked like it was heading towards America. And it was an abandoned ship right there. That's a whole big legend.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the Mary Celeste is this unsolved mystery of a ship, like a cargo ship, that had nobody on it when it arrived in port. And they never found any bodies or anything.
So it would be fitting if, by sunlight, all the vampires they just all disappeared off the ship.
Yeah.
And the one actual survivor had jumped boat.
Yeah, it would make total sense, actually. I do wonder if that was intentional.
Amazing.
There we go. We just
I was-
solved a 100-year-old mystery.
There you go. And that's why they never caught Jack the Ripper.
It's just gonna keep happening. Like,
Yeah, this is my running gag for the episode.
Nah, I'm expecting that like by episode 8 it's gonna be like, and that's who DB Cooper was. Like,
Yeah.
they're just
Well,
gonna
we know
keep
that was
doing it.
Loki,
Right. I
And
forgot
that's
that
where
this was
Jimmy-
part of the MCU.
right?
And that's where Jimmy Hoffa's buried.
Oh, you know, I realized I forgot to do my JoJo fun fact of the day. So I'll do that now. This was a timely one considering the trailer that just dropped, hence why I'm not saving it for part 4. So, as Jay mentioned last time, there was a Takashi Miike movie based on the first couple arcs of part 4. Well, one of the leads in that is now Zoro in the One Piece live-action Netflix thing.
Damn.
And honestly, that One Piece thing looks pretty good.
I'll take your word for it. I don't really know anything about it.
Fair.
Same here.
As someone like starting One Piece again lately, it looks really good.
Isn't
Hell
the
yeah.
creator of the anime involved?
Eiichiro Oda's heavily involved, yes.
Yeah, so that's usually a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I saw like the oh man, I was gonna say something and I lost it. All right.
I'll come back to it. The key to Hamon is a good blood flow. Remember this. Also, Hamon emits the same waves as sunlight. Just roll with it.
And we're including Superman mythology now.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, now I remember what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So like the whole like, oh, we found a mask from an Aztec burial site, and because it was taken, zombies are now a thing.
Yeah.
That's literally the zombie Red Dead Redemption DLC plot.
Oh, holy shit! Yeah, that makes sense. I would not be surprised if that was a direct reference, because I
for
know
real?
there are several games that reference Phantom Blood specifically. I think one of the Castlevanias has the stone mask as an equip item. Yeah.
Huh.
And now we get the Zoom Punch. A lot more deadly than the Skype Punch, but not as effective as the Discord DDT. I wrote that one late at night, and you can tell. Holy shit, we need to talk about JoJo's backwards baseball cap outfit.
So, is that supposed to be a Deerstalker cap?
Possibly, I didn't even think about that.
Okay, because that was my first thought. And fun fact for anyone, you know that Sherlock Holmes actually never wore the Deerstalker cap?
I
Yeah,
did know
I did
that.
actually know that.
Yeah. Okay.
He was like not a real guy, right? Just
No, he was just a character. The
okay.
the Doyle estate is very protective of it, which is extremely funny. Hence why... Good.
It's that Arthur Conan Doyle never had him wear the cap in the novels, but the original illustrator of the stories, who did the stories for their magazine publications, gave him one because he wore one himself, and then Basil Rathbone, the famous actor, popularized it from there.
Okay.
Fun fact also on that, which is actually interesting to note. The original writer of the Mary Celeste stuff was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
There you go.
So it could be a tie-in with that.
Yeah.
It all comes full circle.
As we're about to learn, Araki's a very literary guy because Wynn Knight's Lot, the place they're going to, is named after Salem's Lot.
Huh.
Okay.
Yep. But before they can get there, their horses are accosted. And by accosted, I mean Jack the fucking Ripper bursts out of their horse's body! Metal as fuck!
Did anyone else think of the scene from Ace Ventura when Nature Calls?
When he's coming out of the rhino's ass!
Yes.
No, I didn't, but that's amazing!
That's the
No,
first place my mind
what-
went to.
Okay, I see where your mind went to entirely. I was thinking this was a reverse version of The Godfather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, what were your thoughts on the fucking Jack the fucking Ripper bursting out of a horse.
It's a fucking entrance, I'll give it that much.
Yeah, but hell of an entrance, Jack!
And that was when the acid fully tripped.
Yeah, that's by far one of the weirdest moments in part 1.
That's when it became a pet trip.
My thought was just like, practically, I'm like, how long was he in there?
Do not
Like-
go in there! I mean, that was the horse attached to their carriage, so presumably, as soon as he killed it, he dug the fuck in.
And I thought they
okay.
smelled
I thought like
bad.
maybe
On the
outside.
And then I was like, he told Speedwagon to jump right then. It was like, Speedwagon, jump! It's like, no, that's Van Halen.
Yeah, Van Halen references are a bit later.
Like Speedwagon jump, the wagon stopped moving.
No, this was in Weekly Shonen Jump. Anyway, Zappelli is one of those guys who could just never open a drink normally. Like,
Yeah.
he fucking sticks his finger in the bottom of the wine bottle.
Yeah, he just shotgun it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Apparently he's going to take Jack on here. Let's see what he's got. Jack stabbing his own face to prove how crazy he is a good touch.
Oh yeah. That reminded me of a scene from Barry.
I've heard it's good.
The knives
yeah.
coming out of him reminded me of the Iron Maidens from Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
There's another band reference.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite things about this whole backstory episode specifically, but like starting in this scene, is the fact that like in episode 3, I think, when Speedwagon was introduced, so like, oh, he's this cool guy.
It's 2, but yeah.
These episodes, he's like freaking out the whole time.
Yeah, Speedwagon quickly becomes just the guy who makes everything look dangerous. And it's great.
It seems like that they're setting that up though, because I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but it seems like toward the end of episode 5, they're starting to set that up a little bit.
Yeah. The Hamon Cutter is awesome. It's just energy discs with wine.
Yeah.
Talk about a destructive hangover.
Oh, go on ahead.
I was just gonna say it's like Kirby's cutter copy ability, which interestingly also comes from his breathing.
There you go.
I
Good.
wine usually dulls the senses, not strengthens though. With everything.
There you go. Think of a flea, okay? I'm thinking of the drummer for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, now what? His basic thing about fleas is that they act on survival instinct, like the zombies here. And now for JoJo's final training test. Defeat Jack the Ripper while holding a full wine glass and not spill a single drop, otherwise Zappelli will abandon him right here and now. So, no pressure.
I like how that's the final test when it's also the first one.
The first one we saw.
Fair enough. I was gonna say it's the first one, which also technically makes it the final one.
Yeah. It is technically correct. The best kind of correct.
I mean, technically, he could have just put all the wine in his mouth so that he couldn't have spilt it.
But Ariel, he needs to breathe to use Hamon.
Breathe.
He can breathe through his nose. You can hold wine in your mouth and breathe.
Fair enough. You could he could have drank it, is what I was thinking.
Chipmunk it. You can chipmunk it.
He could just drink it. Anyway.
He has to prove that he has the drink, though, whenever he gets back.
Fair enough. Oh. My
Jojo,
clumsy...
you done in there? Give me like 5 minutes.
My clumsy ass would take one step and fail this test.
I mean, same. I cannot barely move a little bit without just starting to slosh everything around.
Is it based on your walking abilities, apparently?
Oh!
I can't move 1 minute without chugging down the nearest bottle of wine.
Time to Viking up JoJo, and then what the fuck is that awesome weapon? Holy fuck!
It looks like a giant flying hair clip.
It's amazing! It's like if Genocide Jill designed a garden tool.
It kind of reminded me of, oh shoot, what was that one video game from the 90s?
Bubsy.
Night Trap?
I was thinking it was like Night Trap, but
Corpse Killer?
Fox Hunt?
Tower? Clock
there
Tower?
was I think it was Clock Tower, because it was the guy with the hedge clippers.
That's Clock Tower, yeah.
So
That just got a remaster announcement.
Huh.
Speaking of remaster announcements, holy shit, did you hear that they're doing a definitive edition of Plumbers Don't Wear Ties?
I did. And they're doing a spiritual successor to the Zelda CDI games.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that.
Yep.
It's amazing. The future's amazing, guys.
Right? The future rules! The future rules! Oh, future devil. Anyway, I wonder if anyone has edited this scene to have the Fear is the Mind Killer scene from Dune. The same vibe. So Jonathan melts Jack the Ripper by sending his magic breathing punch through a brick wall. I love that this show lets me say these things. And one more time, that is why they never caught him.
I was about to say that for you.
Any other thoughts on this episode before we talk about how we liked it?
I guess to just go off that bit, I really like the idea of like one day like a forensic scientist who's like studying old crimes is like stewing over his work. He's like, what? I don't know what happened. And then like family member's like, hey, relax. Why don't we watch JoJo Phantom Blood? And he watches it and he's like, no, they didn't. Looks up the document and like sees a photo of like
go to the London catacombs. Check the brickwork now.
Of vampire Jack the Ripper was like, motherfucker.
Check the brickwork now. It's like in the Iron Giant, the dude screaming, launch the missile now. Oh fuck.
I think that image of Jack popping out of the horse and just that weird ass grin of his is definitely gonna stay burnt in my brain.
Oh yeah, I can imagine why. It is fucking awesome. Like that shit should be a fucking Manowar album cover.
Yeah, that entire sequence is what's really going to stick with me the most out of this episode. The beginning stuff was really just setting up some character stuff, setting up the Hamon stuff, and then we really get to see it play out with Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, what did we think of this episode, by the way? Because I just put this is a fun episode.
I really liked it. I think it like it moved the story forward enough where I was like really feeling like, oh, so like an adventure's going on, and and like it also like did a really good job introducing all this like new lore about how like new rules to the world and like the whole Hamon system without it feeling like homework, which I feel like a lot of shows like this can do sometimes.
Yeah, it was not in fact Hamon work.
See, I'm going to disagree with that a little bit just because I'm not a huge fan of exposition dumps in general. That's just a thing is for me as a writer. But,
that's fair.
I mean, it doesn't get too bad about it. Has a lot of fun with it. Like it's not taking itself 100% seriously, which I think is the most important part.
Yeah, like
if it took itself way too seriously, it would just be way too heavy. Having it be light like this is making it fun.
Yeah, once the system is like explained, they don't really like elaborate too much on it. Like it's not just exposition dump after exposition dump. The only time you'll have like moments of just the plot stopping to expose information is just when Araki wants to put in like Snapple facts he likes. Again,
yeah, like,
but those are always relevant to what's going on.
No, because I feel like a lot of the show is just like the characters stopping to like talk about a thing that just happened, especially during some of the fight scenes.
I mean, yeah,
like,
there's a specific reason for that, and Jeff did pointed this out, and I can't remember what roast of his it was, but he pointed out in specific battle manga like JoJo, because there's no animation in the manga, these characters have to say this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, since modern anime go for authenticity now, they got put it out. It's just kind of something that comes with the territory.
Yeah, I mean, like after like the first 3 episodes, I was like, okay, so this is how the show's gonna go, and I was able to enjoy it in episodes 4, 5, and 6 a lot more, like because I was like, okay,
makes sense.
It almost reads like one of those like sort of like Saturday morning cartoons where like the characters are just always like narrating like everything that's happening. So like if you have the show on, then you're like in your kitchen.
Oh,
like
absolutely,
that,
yeah.
Then you know what's
Oh
happening.
my god, JoJo is He-Man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, JoJo is He-Man. That makes so much more sense now.
I have the Hawan! I desperately want a Saturday Morning Watchmen style JoJo intro. Shall we move on to episode 5?
Let's.
Cool. Episode 5, The Dark Knight. We open on the party arriving in Win Knight's lot, and Zeppeli remembering, oh yeah, I should probably fix Speedwagon's arm. It didn't go according to plan.
That soft little moan he makes.
Yes.
Ugh.
Win Knight's lot was originally built for training knights. Now it's got a prison where inmates mine for coal. Even in the 1800s, England, the military-industrial prison complex was bullshit.
I swear, I bet one of those prisoners has a daughter named Loretta Lynn somewhere.
Wouldn't doubt it.
Loretta Lynn sang the song Coal Miner's Daughter.
Ah.
It's this show. It would make sense.
Yeah, it's a music reference. I was trying.
I appreciated it.
I'm just young and uncultured. That's
Fair.
not your fault.
Suddenly,
Yeah.
a random child thief event.
So does he just fly through the air caused solely by the release of tension cutting the rope?
Yeah, I'm assuming there was some kind of contraption that we don't see.
That's pretty cool. Like, good job on you, Tom Sawyer.
Zeppeli one-upping Christ by bunny hopping on water. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
Like Source Engine, just like.
Yes. I mean, I'm pretty sure either the All-Star Battle or Eyes of Heaven models are in Source Filmmaker.
Bro, you gotta up your CS:GO game somehow.
Yeah. Holy shit! Jonathan turned into Fonz. Just smack the rock. Ayy. I wish either Zeppeli or Jonathan caught me anytime I ran out of stamina in Tears of the Kingdom when scaling a cliff. So this precocious brat is Poco, named after a folk rock band I've never heard of. He's played by a man... Go ahead.
That's what he's named after?
Yeah. What did you think?
Oh, the only connection I made was the Italian word for poco, meaning a little amount. It's small.
I think it's also the Spanish word.
Because I know in Part 7 there's a character named Poco Loco, which is referencing this character, but also, I think, a song called Poco Loco.
Yeah, Poco Loco is a song over in, like, Mexico.
But we'll get there. That's a while away. Anyway.
Yeah.
He's played by Amanda Cian Miller, who we know best as Toko and Junko in Danganronpa, but he's also Sailor Jupiter, Takeru Aizawa in Squid Girl, Yoshikumi in Blue Exorcist, Dusk Taker in Excel World, Mikage Shikaru in Durarara, Shirakuma in Ultra Despair Girls, young Seiko Kimura in Danganronpa 3, Fortin in Tales of Zestiria, Boruto in the Boruto's Dad franchise, Toshio... I knew that would get a laugh. Toshio Miike in Your Lie in April, Menshi in Hunter x Hunter, Sully Churche in Ilincia in Fire Emblem, Jackass in Nier Automata, Joe in Kid Cosmic, and Tylus in Star Trek Resurgence. In Japanese, he's played by Yumiko Kobayashi, who is the titular character in Cran Shin-chan, one of the longest-running anime ever.
Damn.
Like, that shit started in 1992, and it's still going. Yumiko Kobayashi is also the title character of Excel Saga, Shobu in Duel Masters, yes, the dude with the spiky hair, Nowaki in Naruto, Robotnik's weird sidekick Bokun in Sonic X, Black Star...
I was really hoping you were going to say Scratch or Grounder.
No, that would be funny, though. Black Star in Soul Eater, Darwin in Gumball, Elesa in Pokemon, Atreus in God of War, and Izzy in the new Digimon. Nice catch!
Grounder. Sorry, I did
good.
it just once.
Can you imagine if Long John Baldry voiced a JoJo character?
That would work really well, I think.
Yeah. Like
Dio Brando.
he's just Dario. That would be the best casting for him, honestly. Dio, I'm giving myself a promotion! I'm taking it out of your allowance. And buying booze with it. Anyway. Oh shit, the sun's going down.
Yeah, it feels like a Tears of the Kingdom reference should go right there.
I just made one, though.
I know. It feels like it's okay. Well,
The blood moon rises?
and-
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
we did a
I
blood
feel-
moon last episode.
I
Yeah,
was going to say, what a terrible night to have a curse.
that works too.
Uh,
Considering Part 1 has often been compared to Castlevania.
Well, then I guess another one for more musical references. Creedence Clearwater Revival. I feel that moon.
Absolutely, yes. Oh fucking shit, this is a graveyard. So it turns out, Poco was under hypnotic trance, and was basically told by Dio to lead JoJo and crew into this knight's graveyard for a surprise zombie attack. Dio's able to turn the absurd into a sound strategy. I'll give him that.
I mean,
And
hey, I'm as big a fan of Don't Look Now as the next as the next enthusiast of Italian cinema, but
Fair enough. I wouldn't be surprised. Speak of the Dio, and he shall appear.
We don't want to see your cum gutters, Dio.
Some people do.
speak for yourself, yeah.
I was waiting. I was fucking waiting. Even Speedwagon is understandably afraid. Those zombie knight designs are awesome.
Yes. The energy of whenever there's like a fight with between JoJo and Dio it feels like two kids who are like swinging sticks at each other and constantly like god modding in the middle of their fight, where it's like, actually I have the chest plate that makes me invincible.
It's pretty great, isn't it?
Energy. I have the thing that cancels out invincibility.
See, now I'm picturing
yeah.
the greatest sibling fight of all time, as with Jonathan and Dio. You see, JoJo, I'm just going to start swinging my arms like this, and if you get hit, it's your own fault. Oh yeah? Well, I'm going to start kicking like this, and if you get hit, it's your own fault. Now, Speedwagon, don't you eat this pie!
Self-control. I haven't thought legendary frog in years.
Yeah. Right? Zappelli with the domino kill shot. Like, he zoom punches one zombie, and it just knocks them all down. It's great.
That was an amazing shot.
And then he looks at Dio and goes, "Hey, baby!" Or in English, it's, "Hey, bambino!" Like, I love the little Italianisms they insert with Zappelli. And now we get another big JoJo meme, another thing that I referenced in my intro quote. So, Zappelli says something to the effect of, "How many lives have you taken to recover your form?" And Dio says, "How many slices of bread have you eaten?" Badass line! We can all agree.
That was a pretty good line.
In a shitty translation of the manga, that line was translated as, "How many breads have you eaten?" Which
it's like that bit from Community where it's like they're talking to the guys from Subway, and it's like, "We don't call our bread buns." It's like, well, yeah, you call it, what do you call it? Bread? Well, yeah, but bread is a substance. What do you call the units of it? Breads?
Yeah. How many breads have you eaten, Subway man? So Zappelli goes to attack Dio, but Dio busts out a new superpower, freezing. After all, if your blood's frozen, you can't use Hamon. That's just science.
Yeah, he pulled a full-on Uno reverse on that one.
And then Dio says something. You ever hear a line of dialogue that you're just like, oh, this is prime setup? For me, that was, "Know that I have control over my entire body.
Yeah.
I can make my scrotum fight my pancreas. I am a god!" JoJo with the save was pretty good, though y'all really should have gone for a sneak attack. Shit, that's a leg break, nothing that Hamon can't fix. I feel like we're going to be saying that a lot. Like, in every part of JoJo, there needs to be a healer, because that way the crew can sustain grievous injury and not worry about it.
I mean, I was particularly enamored by the animation of the skin on JoJo's hand rippling as he's falling.
Oh, it's so good. The animation in this show is so damn good.
That was so awful. It made my own skin crawl.
Like, basically saying, like, he's touching frozen metal.
Yeah. And like how I was cussing up the storm earlier, just barely moving around.
Yeah.
That is exactly how I think that he was thinking in his head.
Internally, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot more bollocks in there.
Yeah, I'm sure, because my
England.
entire phrasings. I don't think anybody says my phrasings normally.
My phrasings.
I mean,
seem to be in a spot of bother.
So, out comes Tarkus and Bruford. Or as the jump changes them to, Tarukus and Bluford. Aside from Lee, does anyone get the reference?
No.
Lee?
not really.
Yeah, these were references that somehow I got. So Tarkus is the name of an album by Emerson, Lake and Palmer, another classic rock band. And Bruford is the name of Bill Bruford, the drummer for Yes and King Crimson.
Yep.
Yes, obviously being the band that does Roundabout.
And King Crimson we'll get to in part 5. Tarkus is played by Jameson Price, who I best know as Lord Genome the Spiral King from Gurren Lagann. He was also Jelly Jiggler in Bobobo, Colonel Shikishima in Akira, Seitaro Sakaki in Patlabor. I never know how to pronounce that. Patlabor? I don't know. Murano in Perfect Blue, Duke Red in Metropolis, Sergei Sneak the Fourth from Gene Shaft, Briareos Hecatonkeries in Appleseed, the Count of Monte Cristo in Gankutsuo, Hulk Davidson in Beautiful Joe, Reeve in Advent Children, Chad in Bleach, Lu Bu in Dynasty Warriors, Paul Phoenix and Heihachi in Tekken, Noob Saibot in Mortal Kombat, Volton in Redline, Zero in Zero Escape, Virion, Hawkeye, Rudolph, and Zephiel in Fire Emblem, Ryder in Fate, Leo Whitefang in Guilty Gear, Sakura Sojiro in Persona 5,
Oh, okay.
Wolfric in Pokemon Masters, King Swain in Vinland Saga, and many more. In Japanese, he's played by Tetsu Inada, who also played Lu Bu in Dynasty Warriors and Leo Whitefang in Guilty Gear, along with Daz Bones and Brogy in One Piece, Wakane in Gundam, Crasher Wake in Pokemon, Nappa in Dragon Ball Z Kai, Brain in Fairy Tail, Arthur in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Sajin in Bleach, Pyron in Kid Icarus Uprising, Gamagori in Kill la Kill, Endeavor in My Hero, Over Justice in Space Patrol Lucolo, Alexis Carib in SSSS Gridman, Varus Truss in Promare, Festiva in Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, and Juzo Kumiya, the Bone Carpenter in Jujutsu Kaisen. We'll talk Bruford's voice in a bit. I just wanted to give a buffer between discussions of that. What do you think of these designs, by the way?
They're fun.
They are.
There's a good dichotomy. Oh. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm going ahead.
There's a good difference between the two, where Tarkus is just this gigantic, hulking mass, and Bruford is more elegant and chivalrous.
It's that dichotomy that people like to do, is the big man and little man.
Yeah.
Or
in this case, big man and slightly less big man.
Yeah.
So let's talk backstory. Basically, Queen Elizabeth I said she wouldn't kill her sister, Mary Queen of Scots, if said sister's two most trusted knights, Tarkus and Bruford, gave their lives. Shockingly, the monarchy was a lying bitch. Tarkus was too...
Wow.
Yep. Tarkus was too thick to chop in one go, and it took 5 fucking axes. And Bruford's hair cut the executioner's feet off. Obviously, this never fucking happened, but it's a cool story.
Does anyone else know the Monty Python, the sketch for Mary Queen of Scots?
I've heard it. It's been a while.
That's just the first thing I thought of. And that's the only thing I think of when they bring up Mary Queen of Scots.
I think of Grimm from Billy and Mandy answering that on Jeopardy.
Are you Mary Queen of Scots? I am. And then kicks her down a set of stairs.
Yeah. Speedwagon's like, I know what'll save the day. My rock hard abs.
Talk about cum gutters.
Right? And now for Bruford. He's played by Tony Oliver, who was the narrator Tetikon, and Balambo in Gurren Lagann, Bart in Fist of the North Star, Lupin III, Hiromu Shinbo in Chobits, Eiji Date in Hajime no Ippo, Nagamitsu in Samurai Champloo, Misao in Tenchi Muyo, Minato Namizake in Naruto, Gunnar in Vinland Saga, and Shaft in Castlevania. In Japanese, he's Kenjiro Suda, who was Seto fucking Kaiba.
Sorry, did you say Shaft in Castlevania?
I did. The priest.
Oh. Sorry, I thought you meant like...
like John Shaft in Castlevania? That'd be amazing!
Like he was in that fucking game!
Damn right.
I would play the shit out of either a Shaft mod or a Black Dynamite mod for Castlevania.
Oh my god, did you see that they're making a new Black Dynamite?
The Outlaw Johnny Black, I'm super excited.
Yes.
Oh.
Is it a sequel to Black Dynamite, or is it just like the same?
I think it's a spiritual successor.
Same universe, yeah.
Black Dynamite, but 1800s.
Got it.
Black Dynamite Steel Ball Run. But yeah, Kenjiro Suda, who is Seto Kaiba, Yonji in One Piece, Christoph Gavin in an Ace Attorney short, Maxie in Soul Calibur, Bacchus in Fairy Tail, Nathan Seymour in Tiger and Bunny, Seijiro Mikoshiba in Free, Overhaul in My Hero, Mitsuru in Nambaka, Wrath and Garrick in Fire Emblem, Baron von Zeeks in The Great Ace Attorney, Sikorsky in Baki, Endo in the Kaiji spin-off, Atomic Samurai in One Punch Man, Sam Porter Bridges in Death Stranding. Sakaido in Innovated, Kento Nanami in Jujutsu Kaisen, and Kishibe in Chainsaw Man.
I'm
I
never
know.
gonna get over the name Sam Porter Bridges.
No, it's real good. Anytime you're fighting someone and they go, "Your blood is mine," run. I wrote down the line from Dio, "Even history bows to my will." And also, the story of their delusion gave me goosebumps. So yeah, now Dio has 2 pissed off legendary zombie knights on his side.
Sir Bayonetta and Sir Cloud.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank God Bruford has honor. And at one point, Jonathan's like, "I learned about him in school, and now he's trying to kill me." This is like if I picked a fight with James K. Polk. Which I would. You hear me, Polk, you punk bitch?
You get your doorbell rings immediately.
Oh, please. The motherfucker's been dead for hundreds of years. I can kick his ass. Him wielding the sword with his hair was incredible.
He whips his hair back and forth. He whips his hair back and forth.
See, you thought that. I thought, I have created a knife-wielding tentacle. If anyone would like to volunteer to turn it off, be my guest. You can tell I was very tired when I did my notes for 5 and 6, because I just wrote down, "Oh shit, the water! That's the no-breathe zone!"
Insert Sonic drowning music here.
Yeah, yeah, I wrote my notes for 5 and 6 right as I got back today, and it was like 90 degrees here.
Oi.
Yeah, another
Yeah.
beautiful day in sunny Southern California.
Whee!
It's the same temperature over here, but with humidity too.
Whee! Dio just dips. And then Speedwagon, or he says about the zombies he's gonna make, "They will spread throughout England like a plague." Oh, come on, they just recovered from the last one. It's kind of hilarious to see Bruford talking normally underwater.
I mean, he's undead. He doesn't necessarily need to.
True, but there would still be the problem of the sound traveling that way. And then JoJo does the smart thing, apparently, of swimming down. Lucky for him, Mitch Von Malibu's secret weapon is there, a convenient air pocket. I recommend the show Baywatching by Alison Pregler. It's great stuff. I miss Danny.
Danny was such a good boy.
We flash back to when Jonathan was trying to get his toy gun back from Danny, and George is just like, "Well, if you want to get it back, you have to push it towards him. Make it seem like you don't want it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go give Dio $1,000.
Let's say, is that how he treats his son?
Right? Yeah. George Joestar sucks. Oh, we get the ending portion of Roundabout this time. Sometimes I like to change it up. Any thoughts on this episode that I missed?
No?
I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, this is a fun one. Episode 6, Courage of Tomorrow. We open on the turquoise blue overdrive, only grazing Bluford, and the fight continues. Even if Bruford's, cracked a bit.
Yeah.
Like, they spend like a minute and a half just pumping each other up for the fight they're about to have. I fucking love it! Okay, the overdrive barrage is just straight up the 100 crack fist from Fist of the North Star. I do the noise, but my throat is hurting. Apparently the only way to put Hamon into other things is through the arms and legs. That may be a problem. And speaking of a problem, oh right, Tarkus is there! He really picked the perfect name for Tarkus, considering Tarkus is about as massive as a fucking tank.
Oh yeah.
At the exact right moment, Jonathan bursts through the hair ties and conducts Hamon through the metal sword, letting him land the kill shot on Bruford. That was an awesome fight.
Just for the scratch, though.
Yeah. I do love that Bruford is honorable and valorous even in defeat, and Jonathan knew that, hence why he didn't flinch when Bruford struck.
The scene where he's reflecting on Bruford after the sword thing, reminded me of a scene from No More Heroes 2.
I'm trying to remember which one.
I would elaborate, but it's near the end of the game, so it's a major spoiler.
Fair. Is it the Cosmonaut?
Yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Alice Twilight, but
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, No More Heroes games are great. They're from Suda51, so obviously they play great. And the music is Masafuku Takada, who did the Danganronpa games.
Oh, so that was a great
music
background.
rocks.
So good. I love that the shot of Bruford dying with flowers blooming around him is fucking beautiful. Like, just his
Yeah.
speech about reflecting what it is to be human is gorgeous. And for defeating him, he gives Jonathan the Sword of Luck, which he writes the letter P on with his blood to turn it into the Sword of Pluck. Or it's more known as the Sword of Luck and Pluck, but yeah.
That's where we get the title for courage.
Yep. Giving him luck and courage he needs to defeat his enemy. And here comes Tarkus to be a gigantic asshole. Literally gigantic.
Ew.
Thank you, Casey.
Here's the thing. I was running a little late finishing these episodes because I had to pick something up from my local pharmacy, but like so I had to watch this last episode at like a faster speed.
I know that happens. It's fine.
And so I the moment where he put like the P on the sword was probably a lot funnier than it otherwise would have been.
Yeah.
He was just dying and he's like wait, there's a little
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's pretty funny.
Immediately collapses.
Just write a letter P and then poof. And yeah, I gotta imagine fucking Tarkus crushing the armor is like Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z Abridged crushing the Ginyu frog.
It was sort of like that, or there's like, it's Tarkus with the steel chair!
By God, it's Tarkus with the steel sword!
Oh my god.
So yeah, Tarkus is just a heartless killing machine now, bent on nothing but destruction and slaughter, which is bad news for our heroes. Thankfully, Zeppeli and JoJo have a new Hama technique, the Korok fan!
And thus the paraglider was invented.
That visual of them breathing in the breath, like the fucking soy jack faces they're making.
Oh god. No, it can't be the soy jack faces because they're not ugly as shit. Poco, don't distract the giant leaf drivers.
That part was so funny.
Was it Kirko?
No, that part was so funny where it's just like, and leaf.
Yeah, it's great. Like I said, it's just the Korok fan from Zelda.
Yeah, and I was just like, and thus paragliding was invented.
We get a bit of Zeppeli's backstory when we learn he went to India, then to Tibet, to train with a Hamon teacher named Master Tonpetty.
And he was a real heartbreaker, let me tell you.
Check. Ariel.
Well, I figure he's telling the story while they're free falling. That's
Check.
sort of thing.
He shows up good.
Tom Petty joke.
Check. And he shows up in the next chunk of episodes, so we'll talk about the voice then, but I know the waiting is the hardest part. And check. Tom Petty tells Zeppeli that he's going to die chasing this mask, but that's probably years from now. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And then, by God, Tarkus is back! Like, how does Tarkus sneak up on someone?
Very
Stealthily,
carefully.
it seems.
Like, it's not just that he's a big guy, because, like, Lucky Roo in One Piece, he's a big guy, but he sneaks up on a motherfucker and caps him. No, Tarkus is a big guy wearing giant, loud plate armor.
You just have to be very, very careful.
Yeah. He probably just leapt and, like, was soaring through the air through this.
He's hunting wabbits.
Now look,
He just rolled a nat 20 on his stealth check.
There you go. Oh shit, they arrived at the Knight's Training Ground / Death Pit, standard with all British castles.
Yeah.
Yes, Zeppeli, have Jonathan take Poco into the smoking green door, totally safe. So Jonathan and Tarkus are about to have a dog collar match. The winner is the person who still has a head.
Yeah,
Frankly,
it just looks like a
good.
BDSM dungeon.
Frankly, I've seen more dangerous dog collar matches. This is a terrible method for training knights, by the way, especially when you lose like half of your forces every time.
Who designed this? Thanos?
The British government. Oh. Oh shit. Jonathan can't use Hamon, and he is in fact getting Carradined.
Can I just say,
Yeah.
that excuse of we can't use the Hamon to break through the metal door, we can only use it to break through brick. So break
I was
fucking
thinking that
brick
too!
around the door!
I was thinking that exact thing too! Although, I think the argument would be, if we do that, we risk the entire fucking thing coming down on them. Which, you know, fair, it's an old castle.
Yeah, no, because they were in the Petra for some reason.
At the same time, though, fucking Tarkus flew through one of the towers, and he's alright.
True. That was probably all the damage it could take.
Fair enough. Speaking of, anyone else here play Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Star Wars game?
I haven't.
Not
Okay.
me.
So, that scene with Tarkus where he's climbing up the wall and they're talking about how he's being held together just by pure spite. That's essentially one of the main villains from that game. It's a Sith Lord who is held together purely by the fact that he is in constant.
It's a good narrative device. Just the lingering will by pure fucking rage.
Like Lingering Will from Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix.
There you go. Suddenly, Poco gets an idea to save the day, and we get a flashback. And by the way, Poco's sister, since she will be relevant later, is voiced by Dorothy Fawn, who was Chihiro, Sayaka, and Samugi in Danganronpa, Meryl in Trigun, Lilymon and Tai's mom in Digimon, Fujiko Mine in Lupin, Nova in Magic Knight Rayearth, Naru Narasagawa in Love Hina, but we won't hold that against her, a ton of characters in GTO, Cyborg 003, Rosa in Ravemaster, Kenshi in Grenadier, Valentine Villafort in Gankutsuo, Shuno in Bleach, Sophie Wood in Code Geass, Matsuri Hiragi in Lucky Star, Maosha in Gurren Lagann, Conan in Naruto, Sonoko Takasu in Toradora, Reagan's first on-screen client in Mob Psycho 100, Meryl and Bernadette Cavendish in Little Witch Academia, Narine in Violet Evergarden, Mercedes in Fire Emblem, Kie Kamado in Demon Slayer, and Emma in Vinland Saga. In Japanese, it's Aya Endo, who is Uchino in Gintama, Maylene in Pokemon, Miyuki Takara in Lucky Star, Kinoe Crossroad in Gundam 00, Matsu in Sekirei, Flesh Backbone in Corpse Princess,
Jesus Christ.
Analote in Queensblade, which frankly I'm amazed that the Queensblade character doesn't have flesh in the name, Anna Heartfilia in Fairy Tail, Queen Bee in Panty and Stocking, Kamugi in Hunter x Hunter, Karin in Street Fighter, Cynthia in Pokemon Generations, Claire and Elir in Fire Emblem, Silky in Ancient Magus Bride, had to mention that one for Ariel.
Yes.
Liger Leroy in Space Battleship Tiramisu, the Senpai Red Blood Cell in Cells at Work, Young Gilgamesh in Fate, Viola in Pokemon Masters, Yelan in Genshin Impact, Shoko Ieri in Jujutsu Kaisen, Young Canute in Vinland Saga, and Juno in Omega Strikers. So the flashback basically boils down to Poco was getting bullied much like Erina was, and here comes Poco's sister to solve it. Oh no, wait, she slapped him.
Yeah.
He gives rough life lessons.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I'm a teacher, so I feel like I'm qualified to say kids are fucking dicks.
Yeah, they are. So Poco, in an actually awesome move, sneaks into the murder pit and opens the door. And for his troubles, he gets sent flying into the wall. Hell of a move there.
Yeah, he could be dead.
I mean, it's JoJo. We're just gonna roll with it. Get ready to say that phrase a lot. It's JoJo. We're just gonna roll with it. Oh, Ton Petty, would you relax? That's gonna be years from now, right? Any other thoughts on this? Any other jokes about this episode before we talk about the thoughts on it?
No.
That was kind of a quick one.
It really was.
I mean, it's a continuation of the last episode, and
Yeah.
it's gonna fit into the next episode too. So.
I feel like we're getting the flow of it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that this episode showcased the whole team more. Like, Zeppeli got to do stuff. We had the cool exit of Bruford. Poco got to do stuff. Speedwagon was Speedwagon.
You got to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. What do we think of this episode?
Pretty good. I enjoyed
It was
it.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I preferred the previous episode more.
I would say out of part one, this is probably the weakest episode. Just because there's not much to say about it.
If this is the weakest episode, then it's very good to show what's going to happen for the rest of part one.
Yeah, which there's only 3 episodes left in part 1.
Oh, okay.
It's the shortest part. Well, let's give Zen and Phil a chance to talk about what they thought of these episodes.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our portion of the RoTho JoJo ShowShow. I am one of your hosts for this segment, this currently unnamed segment. This is just Phil and Zen's thoughts. Hi, hello, I am Filip, how's it going? And as usual, I am here with my co-host, Zenith Warrior Princess. How are you going, Zen?
You're fired, but I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I just finished recording some Genshin stuff, so I'm kind of like, I'm in the recording mood. But it is currently Thanksgiving, on my end, and it's been very busy Black Friday at work, but I'm energetic. I'm good.
That is good, as I say, moving the mic back because it is too close to me. But with that being said, it is, I guess Thanksgiving time around here as well, except Australians don't celebrate Thanksgiving, so...
You heathens, you godless heathens. Oh, damn Aussies.
I mean, have you seen Australians? Like, we're rude all the time. We say the C word endlessly, which made Zen very uncomfortable when I told her that for the first time.
Damn Aussies. In any case, today we're talking about some JoJo, which is also quite rude. I mean,
Very
Dio is
rude.
pretty rude, but, like, not as rude as you Aussies.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but now that you say I actually would like a JoJo that takes place in Australia, that would be very, very fun. That would be actually...
Yeah, Dio comes up, tries to do anything, he just gets kicked in the nuts.
I mean, I don't know, with a name like Diego Brando from freaking Part 7, who knows, maybe Dio in that part is Australian. I doubt it, but who knows at this point? Who knows with this franchise? With that being said, we won't focus on the recap. I'll just leave Rosen to do that, if they even decided to do it. If not, it's fine. But just getting straight into that, into our thoughts for episodes 4 and 6. 4 to 6, not 4 and 6. We're not skipping episode 5. What did you think of just your overall opinions on this batch of episodes then?
Honestly, I really liked it. Like, honestly, it's not as good as the first 3 episodes, but it's classified a little bit differently. I still put it on par with the first 3 episodes, but the way it works is the first 3 episodes are very different in their structure. It's essentially like, hey, we're going to be vampires and, like, surprise, and it sets up a lot of stuff, whereas this is shonen. It's basic shonen. Like, you have the fight against Jack the Ripper in the training montage. He has a week of training. Then you have Bluford and Tarkus, where it starts the shonen-esque fights. And it's good, don't get me wrong, but it's not different like the first 3 episodes were. So I classify them differently. I don't think they're bad. I think it's as good as the first 3 episodes. But the first 3 episodes hooked me more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can... I mean, I'll say this much. I remember last time we did this, which, for the record, the last time we recorded... for episodes 1 to 3, it was a couple of months ago, because as you will tell, probably from the beginning of this video, I'll probably have like a note during it, but yeah, I've been busy editing this massive, colossal video on the side, and so it kind of delayed everything. So that first recording
This is why you're fired. This is why you're fired.
I mean, yeah, so that recording was months ago at this point, so I apologize if I don't remember exactly everything that we said in that first episode, but I do remember me saying that when I first watched part 1 all those years back, I didn't like the midpoint of the series. I thought the first part of part 1 was good, midpoint was kind of meh, and then it ended strong. So going into this, I was actually really curious to see what I thought of, like, this chunk of episodes, which I really don't remember liking all too much. And I will say this, although there are still parts that I very much don't like, and I understand why I came to the conclusion that this part was kind of bad the first time I went through part 1, I will say, I actually enjoyed these episodes a hell of a lot more than I did originally. There is actually, like, quite a bit here that I am a really big fan of, and we'll kind of, I guess we'll just kind of go through, like, point for point, like, just what works, what doesn't. But yeah, I have to say, it's, a lot more good here than there is bad. But I will say, episode 4 did kind of make me go, yeah, so here's where the problems start arising. Like, episode 4 did not do much to quell my thoughts on, like, this is the rough part of Phantom Blood. Because, I guess to just start going into it, my big problem with episode 4 is not that, like, the stuff that's introduced here isn't interesting to some extent. It's just that it feels like that, unlike episodes 1 to 3, which, not to say that they were the most well-paced things ever, but they told a concise story of, like, okay, here are these 2 characters, here's Jonathan, here's Dio, let's explore their relationship as they move through life, and let's see how it all eventually crumbles as we see the two of them go into their different paths, and we see Dio become a vampire, and Jonathan, ultimately best him at the end of the day. And it tells that concise story right there. It could have done a little bit more pacing and showing what happened within those years between their childhood and their adulthood, but ultimately I think it was pretty good in the end of the day. Episode 4, unfortunately, I think just tries to struggle. I think it tries and struggles to introduce a lot of moving parts that it doesn't get to it doesn't get to do anything with by the end of the day.
It feels rushed.
Very
it feels
much.
rushed. And I think the big thing for me is it does set up at the end of episode 3 that Dio survived. But there's a lot of stuff that just kind of comes out of nowhere. So Jonathan gets out of the hospital. All of a sudden, this guy in a hat. And for the record, I do love Zeppeli, and I do love the way he jumps and everything. It's very, very JoJo. But you suddenly have this guy, suddenly Haman, but then Jonathan knows Haman unconsciously. He just, by touching the branch, he's able to use it, and that was a lot. And that's kind of a big problem with, I think, this portion, is that he's just able to do stuff. He's able to do that, and he's able to transfer Haman through steel and other stuff. And he has a week of training, but it's all oh, you already have the good breathing down, so you don't have to worry about any of the other parts. He's just naturally good, and that's a problem.
Yeah, it's in episode 4, we reintroduce Erina, then we get Zeppeli's introduction, and we see him, basically explain what Hamon is, and we see what he's all about. Then he's like, hey, by the way, Dio's back. Dio's back! Oh my god, we have to go, stop him. And he's like, well, I'm going to teach you Hamon, and then we're going to go and fight him. And so we get a very, very quick montage of Jonathan learning Hamon. Then we go and we see the three of them, that being Jonathan, Zeppeli, and Speedwagon, going off to fight Dio. And then we encounter Jack the Ripper, and we get Zeppeli fighting Jack the Ripper, and then the episode ends. It's that's a lot of information right there that is flung at us. Basically, most of that is in the first half of the episode. The episode really tries to pin down a backstory for Zeppeli as well. So we have to deal with this character both appearing out of nowhere, explaining what this new unseen power is, then seeing his backstory, then explaining that the main villain is back, and then him joining the cast so we can go fight Dio. It's a lot to take in all at once, and spoiler alert, I honestly do think that Zeppeli is the biggest case of part 1 being rushed, because I'll say this right now, I like Zeppeli's look. I think he has a really nice design. I think his voice in the dub is really nice. I really like his aesthetic. I really like him in that regard. But as far as a character, I think that he's not very interesting, by proxy of the fact that he's not really allowed to be. I'll get into this more when we talk about episode 6, but I feel like Zeppeli is just a lot of tropes and quirks stitched together, because we're not allowed to develop anything about him from now until he basically departs in the next batch of episodes.
And it's to an extent, I do think that part of the stuff being rushed was a little bit better in the manga. Not much, but a little bit, because you had more chapters to do it. But this is a case of Araki is throwing a lot of stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks, and it just, I see where they're going with this. It's a very adventurous spirit of Dio's back, we have to get ready, we have to fight him, and I do like that, the series of fights, on their way there. Jack the Ripper jumps out of a horse. That was awesome. And he has the blades and whatnot, but ultimately they defeat Jack the Ripper really easily, and it's just there's all this build-up for nothing. So it's I like that, but there's a lot of these moving parts that I didn't like. What I liked more was actually the battles with Bluford and Tarkus, because Bluford, they give the backstory while they're fighting, and they give a build-up, and Dio shows up and he says, well, I could defeat you now, but, like, you're not strong enough. So, like, I'm just gonna sick these minions on you. And there's some unimportant stuff with Poco, but I really like how, you know, it's Dio showing off that he's building up his army. He still hasn't fully recovered yet, but he's still stronger than them. And so this is more for Dio to buy time. So these battles make sense. And Blueford, you know, ultimately is a noble warrior, and you see the fights. And Blueford is not, and like he starts this whole like, oh, I'm stronger than you, and he starts this chain death match against.
You mean Tarukas is not, because Blueford actually was a noble warrior by the end.
Oh yeah, Tarkus. Sorry, like their names are weird.
Yeah, they are very weird names.
Blueford is this noble warrior, whereas Tarkus is this big brute and has different fighting styles, and it's interesting to see. My big issue, though, especially when it comes to this, as it's base shown, is they pull stuff out of their ass for Haman to do all the damn time.
Yeah.
Like, Haman, Blue Overdrive. Haman, Steel Overdrive.
I'll say this much, because I dogged on Haman at the end of the last podcast. I do remember that, because I do remember saying Haman was boring, which, and it kind of is. I will say that I liked it a little better on this rewatch, but I'm very happy that they end up getting rid of Haman, because I honestly feel like there's only so much you can do with Haman before it starts to get stale, and I'm really curious to see how it's used in part 2, because with how it's just used in part 1, I feel like
part 2 is just so much better in creativity and its attacks, and they create rules for Haman, and apparently one of the rules is that it has to be like transferred through a living object or something like that.
Well,
like,
that.
So we'll get to that.
That's
later.
not at all how it operates here, because they're channeling Haman through through a sword. And I mean, I guess, like, you know, if you yourself are a living object, you can transfer it from a sword into another living object. I don't know, man. It's like, it's such a messy power set, because it's like, okay, well, it has to do with breathing. You know, it has to, like, do with breathing and air and all that stuff. But it's like, okay, so there's so much you can do with that, but they're too flexible with it by the end, of these episodes. Like, so that ultimately the power set is very messy.
I feel like Araki kept forgetting stuff, and granted, like, Araki himself says, oh, I forgot about Speedwagon's hat. So that's the thing, but, like, Part 1 is very loose with what they can do with it. Part 2 establishes rules and makes it much better. And it's just like, I feel like having, Blue Overdrive, it goes through the sword. You know, if they had just said, hair, like, through the hair, maybe it would work. But, like, it just, the rules that are established in Part 2 are that it has to go through a physical living object, because one of the things is that they try to use Haman through stone, and they can't.
Gotcha, yeah.
Because it's not living, you know? So.
Yeah. I'm just glad that we're going to be getting stands, like, come part 3, because Haman is not very interesting, as far as just a power set is concerned. It's a little too bland, for one thing.
It's fine for being basic shonen.
Yeah.
But, like, when I watch this again, like, I enjoy it, but, like, when I see part 2, I'm just like, this is so much better, because they actually, like, have it's not just, I do this and then you do this. It's not a game of Yu-Gi-Oh. It's a game where, like, you can actually, like, plan stuff out.
Yeah, I will say this, it is a setup for some pretty fun moments, as we'll see with the next set of episodes with the Thundercross split attack, but we'll get to that when we get to it. For this set of episodes, I think that they still managed to do some fun things with it. Like, I guess going into episode 5, I enjoyed episode 5 way more than episode 4, because I feel like now that we're done basically having to rush a lot of information, like, onto the viewer, I feel like this and episode 6 can just focus on this upcoming fight with Blueford and Tarukas, which I think ultimately is a really fun fight. My problem is less so with the fight itself and more so just the, like, lead into it, because I feel like on a first viewing, I feel like part of why I'm able to enjoy it so much is because this isn't my first time watching part 1, whereas like, on a first viewing, I completely understand why my mind just glazed past this fight, because I'm still reeling over, okay, so this is Harmon, here's what it does, here's this Zeppeli guy, here's what his entire situation is, and now we've got, like, immediately on our way to fight Dio. We have no time to really settle with Zeppeli and Speedwagon as our party before we immediately have to go and fight Dio and go through this entire ordeal. But episode 5, you know, all in spite of that, ends up being fun for one reason or another. I like the beginning of the episode where Jonathan, like, the moment like their stuff is taken, he, instead of being angry, his just immediate thought is, he must know his way around. You know, that kid's all right. Let's bring him along with us. I think that's a real fun interaction, like, to kickstart the episode, to basically just show how far Jonathan has come and how kind-hearted he is, which I'll get to in a bit with episode 6. But the actual fight with Bluefoot and Tarukas, I think, is really well handled. I like the fact that you actually do see how, like, you see their backstory, essentially, and despite the fact that they do kind of come out of nowhere, which you can explain a lot of part 1 with, like, you can just say, oh, this aspect comes out of nowhere, this character comes out of nowhere, and Bluefoot and Tarukas do quite literally come out of nowhere. You know, they come out of the goddamn ground. All in spite of that, I think that they have a nice duality that, in part, kind of it reflects Jonathan and Dio to an extent, because by the end of the fight, or at least by the end of what we've seen so far, we see Bluefoot kind of regain his humanity, and realize, you know, how wrong he's been this entire time, because, you know, he realizes, I'm not wording this right. Basically, he and Tarukas died with a lot of pain in their heart because of Mary's death, essentially, and it's like, oh my god, Mary, we're dying in vain because Mary just got executed anyway, and they went to the grave with all of that pain stored up, and being given this second chance of life, they're, you know, channeling that rage, like, non-stop. Like, their heart is all full of hatred. But Bluefoot, because of Jonathan, you know, being like the kind heart that he is, was able to regain his humanity and die with dignity, as opposed to Tarukas, who is choosing to live as long as he can with this hatred in his heart, which kind of parallels how Jonathan has, you know, despite given every reason to turn against the world with, like, how much shit, like, was thrown his way in the first episode, he, you know, soldiered through and decided to keep true to being this gentleman-like character, as opposed to Tarukas, who, you know, is more akin to Dio, in the sense of, you know, just taking that hatred and letting it cloud him throughout his entire life, and not willing to see any of the good in humanity, and just completely being evil. I think that's a nice little mirror there, you know, to bring Bluefoot and Tarukas, like, a little closer to our protagonist.
I do like them as characters, I do like them as opponents, and I feel like they're much better than Jack was, and, like, they have their own fighting styles and way of doing things. My big problem is kind of the pacing of how, you know, episode 6 ends with them setting up the chain death match, and they don't finish him off in that episode. It's the setup of the chain death match. And it's like, it would be fine, it's just now we have it bleeding over into the next set of episodes, and, you know, they kind of rush through some of the other fights to get to, like, Dio, and we'll get to that when we get to the next thing, but, like, I just feel like it would have been so much nicer if they either gave Jack the Ripper an extra episode in the anime to allow his time to breathe, or didn't extend, you know, so much, because, like, here we have all the stuff thrown at you, and then we have, all right, this great 2-part fight with Bluefoot, and then Tarkus, and then all of a sudden this part just kind of ends with, like, a setup. It feels like there's a pacing issue here.
Yeah.
I love the juxtaposition, I love the fights. Don't really like Poco, but he gets stuff to do in a bit.
Yeah, Poco stuff is a little bit from the same issue as Zeppeli, where it's like, we have to kind of rush, like, through his, like, what his deal is, because, you know, we just don't have time to focus on the side characters. So it's like, okay, here's this character's deal, now he does his thing, and Poco's going to be relegated to the back for the rest of the part, essentially. And it's like, he's a kid. There's only so much Poco himself can do. But it's like, yeah, it kind of feels like we had to stop the episode just, like, we had to stop in the middle of the episode to be like, by the way, here's Poco's convictions, and here's, like, what he wants to, like, he's like, he wants to basically not be a wuss the entire time, like, his entire life. And then he does his thing. So it's like, it's a bit of the same issue as Zeppeli, except with Zeppeli, I think that it's a bit of a bigger issue because he's meant to be this big, like he's meant to have this big impact on Jonathan and then be a big part of his, like, this part of his journey. So the fact that I don't really think that his story amounts to all that much, I think is a bit more of an issue. But you're definitely right in the fact that, like, part 1 really just, all in all, just has really rushed pacing. I'm also, you know, in the past, I'm also just took this out on, like, the middle of the part. But now I'm kind of more so noticing, because, again, like I said before, I did enjoy episodes 4 to 6 a lot more than I did previously. I'm kind of just realizing that instead of just the beginning and ending being good and the middle being meh, I'm kind of just realizing that the entire part has a lot of really good aspects, as well as a lot of real big bumps that they have to get through to kind of realize what those good aspects are, essentially.
And I think it's not just the setup and whatnot. And, like, you mentioned that you don't think the manga, or I had someone mention to me that they didn't think the manga was as much better paced than this. But I think what works for me and what settles it out for the manga is that everything is separated into chapters rather than episodes. And when you're reading a manga, everything, like, has its own build-up and setup point. And I felt like while the first 3 episodes were translated well from the manga, with the Bluford and Tarkus fight and even the Jack the Ripper stuff, you had an episode, not an episode, you had a chapter or 2 to take everything in, which is a lot different than an episode, in my opinion. It's kind of like the One Piece Naruto syndrome, where, like, sometimes you have chapters that are entire episodes, where other times you have multiple chapters in an episode, and it's like it's up to the creator to tell how much deserves to be an episode. And I feel like they really should have extended it.
It's why a lot of exposition, like, type chapters will only, like, it'll only be like 1 or 2 chapters per episode, and then when it's a fight, you just have a whole like chunk of chapters, whether it's like 3 or 4, be adapted into the episode. But speaking of the pacing, I just want to ask, did I miss something? Or, like, because I noticed that while Jonathan was fighting Bluford, like, Speedwagon and, sorry, not Speedwagon, but Tarukas was just kind of standing there and not fighting Speedwagon and Zeppeli. Did they make a point of, like, of Tarukas keeping an eye on them? Or was it like, I'll handle these guys?
No, it was specifically Bluford asked Dio to fight alone.
The thing. That part I know. I know I remember, like, Bluford basically said, I want to fight Jonathan alone, but did Tarukas, like, not make a point of, like, I'm going to now fight Speedwagon and Zeppeli, or was he just, like, there to keep an eye on them to make sure they don't interfere?
Yeah, he was just making sure they didn't interfere in the fight.
Okay, gotcha, okay. Because I was gonna be like,
I know it's a lot. It's, like I said, this is why it's better in a chapter in a manga, because you can condense things to a point where the information is not so overwhelming, and that's what I feel is the failing of the anime adaptation from 4 to 6, and especially the final 3, but we're gonna get to that. It's like, the information is there, but we don't have time to fully process it because it's told in such a manner that is rushed. And that's my complaint, is that, you know, Rosen said, oh, it's not rushed, it was the same as in the manga. That's not the issue. The issue is the pacing. Yeah, it's like, and also, like, it's the same as the manga. It's like, well, then the manga is rushed as well. It's like, that's, you know, that's just how it is, you know? I just think that part 1, while it is good in many aspects, I just think that the pacing, and look, I can't speak to the manga because I haven't read it yet. I'm probably not going to be reading the manga until we reach part 7.
But yeah, I just viewing what I'm viewing just on the screen. Yeah, part 1 just has a real big pacing issue that does hurt several story elements. You know, case in point, being Zeppeli, you know, and we get more of his backstory in episode 6. And knowing what happens in episode 7, I'm pretty sure what I'm thinking of happens in episode 7. Gotta revisit the episode. But
yeah, we're in a. I think we can talk a little bit more about Zeppeli in episode 7 because a lot of his character isn't important until then, aside of being a mentor figure.
Yeah.
The thing about this set of episodes, and a part of why I think it's not as memorable for past you, and it's great, but like a lot of this is battle. A lot of this is battle shonen. It's good battle shonen. It's not great, but like it just, when you talk about character arcs, Jonathan grows as a character to be more kind, but it's more him training for the battle. Everything else is these characters getting ready to battle Dio at the battle against zombies. And it's great stuff, but if you break it down into these 3 episodes, there's no character arcs outside of Zeppeli being introduced and setting up for his eventual death.
Yeah, the spoiler alert for anyone who's watching along with us. But to that end, I want to just quickly bring that up, because like that's where I was kind of going with Zeppeli, was that we get more of his backstory in episode 6, and we get like this drop that his master had a prophecy that if he was to go down the route of learning Hamon, then he was eventually going to die. And I don't really like that. It's like, it's just, I don't know if I'd use the word lazy, but it kind of just feels like a lazy way to be like, okay, well, we haven't really developed Zeppeli, so to kind of just add a hook to his character, let's be like, well, there was a prophecy his master had that he was gonna die if he used Hamon. So it's basically like, oh, okay, well, Zeppeli's gonna die.
Does Hamon give him the ability to prophecy, or like, and look, I like Ton Petty. Yes, it's Ton Petty and the Heartbreakers. And we're gonna see some more of them later. So Tom Petty is in this, but like Tom Petty is an interesting character, and I like the idea of Zeppeli's backstory being that his father was taken over by the mask and turned into a vampire, and he has a history with the mask. So like that's interesting, but aside from that, like when we start to get to the point where it's like, I have a prophecy because of Hamon that you're gonna die, and he goes in accepting that, like, it's an interesting idea of like what a person does when they know they're going to die, but it just comes right the hell out of nowhere, and I feel like it really needed to be built up to.
That's why I kind of see Zeppeli as like a cluster of tropes, ideas, and quirks, because that's ultimately what he ends up being in the end. Like, you say like we'll probably have more to say Zeppeli next episode. I honestly don't know if I will, because that's kind of just my problem with Zeppeli. It's just a lot of like, there's a lot put into his character for such a short amount of time that we just don't have like any room to develop on any of those ideas, and that's just ultimately
there's
what
a lot of stuff, there's not a lot of time. I think what I mean more is that when we actually get to the next episode, we'll talk about Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Dyer and Straitso, and you know, actually introduce the people that, you know, Zeppeli went to and learned from, and learn more about his backstory. But like, there really isn't much to his character. He's fun. I like him. I like the way he jumps. But the thing is, as Rosen said last episode, this was developed by a guy who liked French fashion. So like, that's why they're all striking a pose. It's just his art style. So like, that's not entirely thing. I like his checkerboard hat, and apparently, like, he's a Mentos bar or something like that. But, like, you know, what is there to grab onto in this part? Like, I feel like the episode 8 is my favorite, but once we get there, like, that's the peak, you know?
Yeah. That's basically most of my notes about this set of episodes. I enjoyed my time. I mainly enjoyed the fight with Bluford and Tarukas, mainly because I do like that mirroring of like Jonathan and Dio that I see in the two of them, and especially that moment when, you know, Jonathan knows that the good in Bluford has come back, and so he doesn't move as he's like about to get slashed. that's a really good moment, and it just kind of shows like just the extent to which how far Jonathan has come in like this part in just 6 episodes, no less. And he may be too trusting, to be fair, but it's like, I think looking back on like the words that we have said about like Jonathan in the previous part, although we did have some nice things to say about him, you know, we've also just been like, oh yeah, Jonathan's kind of an idiot. But the thing is, like, I think just boiling it down to he's an idiot is a little too harsh on him. I do remember talking with Rosen about this, and it's like, he's not an idiot, he's just very trusting. And I think ultimately that's a really good way of like putting Jonathan, and I do like that aspect of him now going through part 1 again, and like just seeing, you know, how like, and also just knowing how like the future JoJos are, like, you know, even though I haven't seen parts 2 and onward, I know like how each JoJo is from this point onward. You know, like Joseph is very like arrogant and boisterous. Jotaro is, you know, rude and, you know, just like, I don't want to say cruel, he's not cruel, but, you know, he's very rude and like punk-like. Josuke is a high schooler, etc, etc. But it's like, you know, you see Jonathan and, you know, he's just this like bastion of good, and like, you know, he's just this, you know, symbol of, you know, just everything good that a man should, like, you know, that mankind can strive to be. And I think for the classical, like, fable-like narrative that part 1 provides, it makes him the perfect protagonist for Phantom Blood, and I just really like him because of that. I think he's just such a good protagonist for this story, and I think that that's highlighted really well in this set of episodes.
I think for the fantasy-like story, Jonathan works perfectly. I just feel like he doesn't have enough personality, but I do like his kind heart, his demeanor. I just wish he had better stuff to go off of. Personally, my favorite thing about episodes 4 to 6 is Bluford and Tarkus, because while Jack the Ripper kind of was brought up and then didn't do anything, and then he shows up and then he's killed unceremoniously, I feel like he was kind of wasted. But like when you finally get down to it and Dio shows up, Bluford and Tarkus show Rocky starting to actually develop his sub-villains more, and I really like what they were able to do with him, even if the Haman powers just kind of come out of their ass. Like the hair and the fighting styles and stuff like that, like that was good. I just think part 2 does it so much better.
Yeah. And we'll get to part 2 like in the video after the next. You know, I'm hoping to have both episodes of part 1 done this month. You know, the usual schedule for all these is going to be 1 video per month, but because we, you know, had to delay a lot of videos, this video has just, as a result, just taken a long time to come out.
Phil, so just edit a video already.
I have been editing a video, it just hasn't been for you.
You're fired.
No, I don't think I am.
In any case, JoJo episode 4 to 6, I think it's good, not great. It's a different style than the first 3 episodes. And to some, I can definitely see why it would be lesser, but for me, it's just good shonen. Yeah. And good vampire stuff, good shonen. They're different genres, but they're both good. So yeah, I like it.
It's, despite being, you know, an anime that came out in like, what, 2012, it is a very nice time capsule of like just what 80s manga was like. And, you know, as a result, I think that it is very enjoyable in that aspect. It's just, it also means we don't get a lot of character stuff, unfortunately, which is a shame. But this is an issue I know is rectified in part 2 and beyond. So I'm just, at this point, while I am enjoying myself just revisiting part 1, I think I am just finally ready to dive into part 2 and beyond. But yeah, what can you do?
Yeah, part 2 introduces some really interesting things, but we'll get to that. We haven't had a lot of time. Again, Black Friday, at my work, I won't get into where I work, mostly because I want to kind of keep it separate, but things are getting pretty busy for Black Friday. In any case, I'm looking forward to the end of part 1 and the start of part 2.
Same. So with all that being said, we will catch you guys in the next episode, which will be the finale of Phantom Blood. But until then, why don't we switch it back over to Rosen and the others. So have a good everyone.
Yeah,
have a good one, everyone.
I'm Zenith, this is Phil, and back to Rosen.
And now that they've done that, let's do favorite and least favorite moment. Who wants to go first?
I guess I'll go. I was just a fan of Tarkus and Bluebird. Both the dynamic, their backstory, the references that I got. I thought they were a ton of fun.
And for least favorite?
Least favorite. I need to think about
Actually, yeah, we're gonna do all favorite then all least favorite. I'll go next for favorite moment. It's either Jack bursting out of the horse or Jack turning into goo.
For me, I'd have to say Jack bursting out of the horse was definitely up there for me because that is such a memorable moment that it just, like I said, it's burnt in my brain.
Coco.
Any moment with Will Zeppeli just doing his thing, he's really fun. I like him.
Fair enough.
I will admit though, him doing the tippity tap was up there.
So good. The hand motions are so good. It's like, I feel like someone needs to gif him coming towards the camera with me when I fucking get you.
Yeah.
That might be a good edit for the thumbnail. Okay, least favorite moment. I'll go first. The fact that Speedwagon didn't form a polycule with Erina and Jonathan.
Going off of that, yeah, like how I mentioned earlier, like how I was hoping, like how they had an opportunity to bring Erina into it and they just didn't really do anything. And I'm like, man.
Kind of going off that too, and the Speedwagon thing. I hate that when there's always just a character that's purely there for comic relief, that we don't see anything coming, anything happening with them. So I hope they're gonna do something with Speedwagon eventually.
I mean, that is a big one too for me, because I felt like they could have done so much more with her, but for one, that physically got me to recoil and gave me physical pain. Just even looking at it, it had to be also the scene where Jonathan was getting his flesh ripped off of his hand and his wrist.
Fair enough. And now for the Bizarro meter. Or this is out of 9.
I'd give it a out of 9.
Yeah, because there's 9 parts.
7 or an 8, I would say.
Fair.
Not the weirdest thing I've seen, but it's definitely on an upward incline.
Yeah.
Like they're getting very bold with some of the things they're doing.
It's gonna be real funny when we're like 3 parts in and you look back and it's like, why did I give that a 7?
I mean, I know that like this is probably pretty tame compared to what's following next, but like.
But that's the beauty of hindsight.
Yeah, and I also don't watch that much anime in the first place. So.
For the horse, the Hairblade, and Iraqi's Mary Queen of Scots fanfic, this is getting a 5 out of 9.
Yeah, I was gonna put it at about a 6 out of 9. That it's slightly above average, like slightly above the middle line for absurdity, but hasn't gone quite over the edge yet.
Fair enough.
I say on a whole, the episodes will probably be about 5.5 for me. But for just that one split second of Jack the Ripper grinning his fucking just grinning out and out of that horse.
Yeah.
That one moment gives me a 7.
Fair enough. And yeah, that'll do it for this episode. Next episodes are the last 3 episodes of part 1. Y'all excited?
I'm very excited.
I am very curious what's going to happen next.
Well, we'll see.
It'll be interesting to see how they wrap it up very quickly.
Yep. And before we get into our discussion next time, we'll have Jay talk about what he thought of episodes 4 through 6. But we'll be discussing episode 7, Sorrowful Successor, episode 8, Bloody Battle, JoJo vs. Dio, and episode 9, The Final Ripple. We'll see you next time.